comment on the document, sir?
President Joe Biden didn't respond to questions about the classified documents unearthed in an office at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement used by Biden when he was an honorary professor from 2017 to 2019.
We'll wait to see the facts, but, classified information needs to be in secure spaces.
A source told CNN fewer than a dozen documents were found when the office was packed up last fall, and lawyers for the president say they have since been handed over to the National Archives.
Well, the idea that they're floating around out there, Democrat or Republican, the idea that these type of documents are out there in the public isn't good for America as a whole or our intelligence community.
The Department of Justice is looking into the matter, and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is staying tight-lipped about whether the new GOP Congress should investigate Biden. Jamie Raskin, the ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, issued a statement saying the Biden legal team took immediate and proper action. But some Republicans say the probe into the classified documents found at former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate was handled differently.
Why was there a raid on Mar-a-Lago, but now this story just kind of seeps out and everybody's saying, oh, we just want to get down to the bottom of it, and everybody's giving the benefit of the doubt?
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
As President Biden meets in Mexico for the North American Leaders Summit, the Justice Department is reviewing the discovery of what one of the president's attorneys calls a small number of documents with classified markings found last November in Mr. Biden's former office at the Penn Biden Center. The White House says the documents from Mr. Biden's time as vice president were found when his personal lawyers were packing files in a locked closet at the University Academic Center in Washington before moving out of the space. In a statement, the White House says its counsel's office notified the National Archives on November 2nd, the same day the documents were found, and that they were turned over the next day. Officials have not said what kind of information was in the documents or detailed their level of classification. Republicans quickly pounced on the revelation.
I'm wondering why the Vice President of the United States had classified documents outside of the hands of the intelligence community.
Republicans are also drawing comparisons to former President Trump, who's under investigation for taking hundreds of classified documents when he left the White House and resisting repeated requests to return the materials even after being subpoenaed. The FBI ultimately recovered the materials after carrying out a court-ordered search of the former president's Mar-a-Lago estate. Overnight, Mr. Trump posting on his social media site, "When is the FBI going to raid the many homes of Joe Biden, perhaps even the White House? These documents were definitely not declassified." Last fall, President Biden criticized Mr. Trump when asked on 60 Minutes about this FBI photograph of the seized documents spread out by agents on the floor at Mar-a-Lago.
How that could possibly happen. How anyone could be that irresponsible.
President Biden did not respond to a reporter's shouted question about the issue last night. But the White House says the circumstances are far different than those in the Trump case, emphasizing that the recently discovered documents were not the subject of any request or review by the archives, and that once found, they were turned over immediately.
Well, I think it's good that he's out having somebody review it. I mean, we'd like to consider the Department of Justice apolitical, so I would hope that didn't go into his decision, but I'm sure it did. I mean, look, this is ultimately going to come down to a question of intent. It's like having two people stopped on the interstate and going through a road construction zone, and one says, Mr. Officer, you're crooked and you're involved in a cover-up and you hate me and the law doesn't apply to me. So there you go. And the other driver says, look, I'm sorry. I did not notice the speed limit change and I want to cooperate with your stop. I'll help you. Guess what? Driver number one is going to get a ticket. And so it's a question of how they handle it. And how did they handle it? And the problem for the Trump team is their handling of this case from the beginning has been abysmal. And so that's what's going to come back to get them in the end. It's always how you handle something. There's the cover up, things like the obstructive conduct at the end of a case. Right. Sure. Sure. it doesn't really make me more wary. I mean, the attorney general is charged with following the facts and the law. So he's going to apply the law equally, but he applies it to a set of facts. And those facts will be determinative in this case. I mean, I've said all along the efforts to claim that no political thoughts, nothing about charging a former president enters into the calculus. That's just nonsense. Of course it does. I mean, ask yourself how many special prosecutors you have around the United States right now, or how many special grand juries are convening to consider a case in states like Georgia. I mean, they are thinking about it because it's huge. It's a big deal of whether or not this is going to become how we do things. Do we charge presidents? Do we charge former presidents with crimes? So I think his move is the right thing to do. I think there are going to be people who claim there's politics in it. There's going to be people who claim it's a conspiracy. I mean, you got a whole party in Congress who their entire premise is based on charging lies and conspiracy theories and all that. And if that's the case, I mean, that's nonsense. But that's where we're at. He's going to be charged. But he did the right thing by getting out in front of this and asking the U.S. attorney to review the document.
When you're living in a glass house, don't be throwing stones, right? And we always felt like it was overplayed, the search of the Mar-a-Lago. I think when you're going to do that to the next president, you got to be very careful. And I think it kept changing the threshold for just how vitriolic and the hyper-partisanship. I mean, it just took it to a new level. And I think to do that, they should have been very careful before they go in and do a search like that.